So, just as with any big dark money activist organization, they're not satiated by merely controlling politics and culture from the outside. They plant people inside the highest political offices possible. And Arabella is no different. And this isn't anywhere near the end of exposing Arabella, but I think it's important to be clear on the kind of influence that they have over policy. The first person I'll be discussing is Paige Herwig. She was Biden's senior counsel until mid 2023, and she was tasked with leading the administration's judicial nominee vetting process. As you can see at the top of this article, Demand Justice was in big support of Biden choosing her. Why, you might ask? Because she used to work for Demand Justice. Demand Justice is funded in large part by the 1630 Fund, an investment arm of Arabella. They had not only tried to sink Brett Kavanaugh in 2018 by pumping $5 million into advertising against him, but they also went after Justice Stephen Breyer. Demand Justice drove a mobile billboard around the Supreme Court that said, "Breyer, retire. It's time for a black woman Supreme Court justice. There's no time to waste." And of course, it's a horribly racist and sexist thing to say, but in our modern culture, it's seen as acceptable. And it's actually pretty sad when you think about it that Demand Justice has influence over anything when they've so thoroughly polluted the definition of justice. But Demand Justice launched an ad for the Supreme Court vacancy, publishing a short list of candidates that they deemed suitable. Biden's choice of the now Justice Brown was not on that short list, but conveniently, there were 4 similarities between Biden's list and Demand Justice's list. And if I may, for a moment here, inject my own analysis, Demand Justice got exactly what they wanted without seeming too much like they were controlling the Biden administration. So whether you think that it was orchestrated to play out like this, or if it's just an appeasing pick on Biden's part, it can't be denied that Demand Justice has an influence over the Biden administration. And although Paige Herwig has since left her position as White House senior counsel, she got done exactly what Demand Justice wanted. She got a liberal black woman onto the Supreme Court. Another ex-Demand Justice employee in the Biden White House was Jen Psaki, Biden's press secretary until mid-2022. Psaki was Demand Justice's senior advisor before stepping into the Biden White House, and she had a very influential role, particularly when it came to censorship on social media and foreign policy. And this plays out well because Psaki was also a senior advisor to a firm called West Exec. And there have been more than 15 consultants from the firm that have spread throughout the White House during Biden's administration. And I won't go too long into West Exec because they're not the focus of this investigation, but they were started in 2017 by 2 former Obama administration officials, Tony Blinken, who later became and still is Biden's Secretary of State, and Michelle Flournoy. West Exec is registered as a strategic consultant firm instead of registering as a lobbying firm, because it meant that they didn't have to disclose their clients and services, making it impossible to assess the influence that they have on federal expenditures and ultimately federal influence. So having these 2 key connections, Psaki was a no-brainer for the Biden White House. Now, the last person that I want to mention is Ron Klain. He was Biden's chief of staff until early 2023, serving on the administration's senior search team with Herwig. He also led the Center for American Progress Action Fund, or CAP Action for short, which received millions of dollars from the 1630 Fund in 2020. CAP Action was started in 2003 by John Podesta, George Soros, and a handful of other DC Democrats. They focus on placing people on Capitol Hill and within the media. They're the liberal heavyweights behind the left-wing blog Think Progress. So it makes sense to have a convergence of dark money networks and shady individuals like Podesta and Soros pushing the radical progressive agenda, trying to make it seem organic when it's anything but that. And that agenda has, to no surprise, sufficiently invaded the White House.